This is Pop Culture Yearbook. We are back for season 4. Hey guys, I'm going to mix it up.
What was that
On
all
this
about?
show, we pick pieces of pop culture that were important to us in a given year. We then discuss memories and dig into those movies, albums, shows, and more. I'm Brad.
I'm Pete.
And I'm GIF.
And yeah, this is a new season. We are back in full force.
Gotta stretch.
Hopefully you enjoyed the time off, guys, and the little
back
ones
into
we
it.
put out. But we're back to business.
Think we can remember what we're doing?
I don't know.
I
What
think
do we got to open up, Pete? What do we got to do first?
Well, let's go to the bookcase. Got to dust it off because it's been a while, and let's open up the yearbook.
Yeah. What are we opening it to?
Page 1990. 1990.
90. That's a good year. That's a big year.
Yes, it was.
Oh, I
Gifford.
can't wait to hear why.
Gifford, you picked the year for us this month. Why did you pick 1990?
Well, 1990 is one of those in the formative years of our lives. You know, we're going in out of 8th grade, out of middle school at this point. We entered the year in middle school, and we are moving up to the big, scary high school. So, you know, those are always, for me, you know, what? Hey, guys, what do we love on this?
Nostalgia.
We love
Nostalgia.
That's right.
Hawaii
That's
Dad.
right. And because of that, I mean, I think a lot of nostalgia for, you know, a lot of us is rooted in those formative years. So there's a lot of great stuff from 1990, and we're going to cover 3 great topics this month. And I'm just
And
looking
more.
forward to it. Yeah, and more.
Especially tonight.
So we're going to get into our memories here. And since I'm the one who picked the year, I get to start off first, unless you guys have something
It's
to
your
add
choice.
before we get into it. All
Go
right.
for it, man.
What do you remember about 1990?
So as I said, this is 8th going into 9th grade. So last day of school, 8th grade. I'm with
Oh,
my
yeah.
pal. I'm with my pal Brad.
Oh,
And
yeah.
We hung out in Russell. After school, we went over to a particular girl's house, Jessica, who Brad was friendly with at the time, and
Yep.
one of her good friends,
Hot
Heather.
and heavy.
Yes, was there as well, and we were friendly at the time, and we just hung out, the 4 of us, and watched some TV, watched some movies. For some reason, Back to the Future Part 2 is coming into my head. Like
not
we might
mine.
have. Well, yeah, you weren't in the living room.
I remember the
Um,
movie Jacob's Ladder with Tim Robbins.
Oh, okay.
And I was like really scared to watch it, and I don't even know if we really watched it, but like I remember that being kind of the movie of the night.
Okay.
But I could
Now-
be wrong. I don't know.
This is one of the questions I had for you. I stayed over at your place then that night, right? Your parents came and picked us up.
I
and
don't
stayed
know. You
overnight.
brought this up before, and I don't remember.
I think I went over to your place after we left the ladies. I'm assuming satisfied. We headed back
Wow.
over to your place.
We were
Well, as
14
satisfied
people.
as
You guys.
satisfied as an 8th grade girl could be, I guess.
Yes, it
Sounds
was
like you had a
actually
good
13.
time. I just want to thank
Yep.
you for the invitation. I appreciate. I appreciate being invited to such a great time that you guys
Well, you
had.
didn't have a girlfriend who was
Well-
friends with them.
You're not helping. You're not helping.
Pete, as you guys have mentioned many times, you guys are from Tyler. I'm the one from Russell. Jessica's house was in Russell, and you can't invite too many people to Russell at one time. So Brad was probably hitting the limit as one extra
Exceed the
person in
capacity
Russell
of the
could even-
city.
Yes, exactly. So of course we go into 9th grade, and my brother at the time was going into his junior year. I'm sure I've told you guys this before, but I was a bit of a mouthy kid, and
What?
so when it came time for football
You?
season, I didn't go out for football freshman year because I was so worried that I was just going to get beat up,
Really?
basically getting my comeuppance for
Oh.
all the
So,
idiotic
much
things that I
better.
said.
You should be the manager of the football team like I was, because you're not going to get beat up or teased there at all.
So here's another question I have for you. That year you were the manager, and there was a game where it was like an all-out blizzard where you couldn't see across the field.
That was
And I
MEA weekend. It was like in October, right? This
Yeah.
is high school. This was like about
Well-
freshman year.
Yeah.
This would've
Well,
been
we had
91.
another one. We had another one the next year, the blizzard of '91. but I remember going to a football game. You couldn't even see across the field. And I
No, it
think
wasn't any.
I volunteered to be the manager that night because I don't think you came because it was so awful. Or did I help you that night?
I haven't. Maybe you helped me. I don't think I missed any games. The one saving
Okay.
grace to that job was it was the greatest football season, I think,
Yes.
in RTR history.
Yes.
We went to the state tournament and we had some of the most classic games I've ever witnessed. So I
Mhm.
did enjoy that part.
And did we
I
play
will say I was
Becker at home that year?
Yeah,
was
so we
first game of
lost
state?
2 in the state tournament. Yes.
Yeah.
And the reason we lost is because former Viking quarterback Todd Bauman was our quarterback, and he broke his hand early in the game by hitting getting his hand hit on a helmet, I believe, or smashed between 2 helmets, something like that.
Right.
And so he could not play, and so we had our sophomore quarterback come in, who was a good quarterback, but it was his first varsity game, and in that situation, he's put in a tough spot. I was the videographer, by the way, of that team.
Oh wow.
Excellent. Well, and speaking of Todd, so he broke his hand, is that right?
I think he broke it or he hurt it real bad. I thought he broke it, but I could be wrong on that.
So
That's
that
how
was
I
his
remember a break.
He hurt himself in his last football game at the state. Then that game in Montevideo in sections, he hurt himself, and that
He broke his ankle. That was a break for sure. I know he broke his ankle there.
Still gutted it out, played amazingly, but not good enough to get us out of that game. And then I think he also got hurt in track at the end of the year too. So he had a tough senior year. But
what a memory!
A lot of great memories watching that guy play sports at RTR. One of the other things, so I had that team went to state, 9th grade basketball. So this, we would have started the year, and I believe we had 12 guys go out for basketball. And
I was
Pat,
out.
What's that?
I played.
Yeah. But Pat and Terry and Bo got pulled up to JV. So we were left with 9 kids. We would play in the little gym.
I do remember practicing in the little gym quite a bit, which was a really little gym to the listener out there.
Well,
this is a small
it was our library.
It became a library, and it's demolished now. But
right, it was our library, our senior year, a brand new library. But it was a tiny, tiny gym, and Coach Gross would have to play with us in order to have 10 people, so we could run plays back and forth. Yeah,
for a guy that thinks he doesn't remember much, you've got a hell of a memory here tonight, because I don't remember any of this.
Rest in peace, by the way, pretty recently.
R.I.P. Coach Gross.
Football coach and assistant basketball coach in that time that you're referring to. Recently, as of, I think, November, is when he passed away. So, of this past year.
And an outstanding phys ed teacher. We could do pretty much whatever we wanted to in his class. A lot of fun, and of course, could say and do pretty much whatever we wanted. So that was outstanding. But that's pretty much what I've got for my memories of 1990. Who wanted to go next?
Okay, go ahead.
So you mentioned a lot of stuff already. My mom, I did everything in middle school. I played football, I played basketball, and I didn't want to do some of that in high school. I wasn't big enough to play football, but my mom did not want me to quit everything. So she basically forced me to be the football manager. And like I said, I felt very awkward doing it, but it was a great year. So thank you for bringing that up. Mm-hmm. But the big thing from this year is that this is the year I moved from. So at the beginning of the year, I lived on a farm, and we all grew up on farms here. And in March of 1990, we moved into Tyler, and we bought the corner store. And for me, going into high school, this was extremely exciting, but also bittersweet. I did love that farm. And as I grew up older now, I look back and, almost kind of wish we would have been able to stay there. Once we've talked about this before, but once you get your driver's license and you can actually, get places on your own, it's pretty cool. I love that house. I haven't been back in it since we moved. I would love to walk through that house. That would be one of the dreams of my life, just no matter what it looks like now. But it was a big deal. I mean, we had almost moved out of town. I had almost left the school, which was the most scary thing of my life. And we ended up buying this convenience store at the last minute. And so moving into town was so exciting for me. We found this cool house. And then we're going to talk about, all our drafts tonight. But so we rented movies at the corner store. Maybe you haven't heard that before on this show. And the amount of movies, as I'm going through the list to make my list for tonight, that we had there that we rented, that, it's just those memories of the cases just sitting on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So many of which I did watch. Some more I never even watched them, but it's amazing the amount of movies that I went through during those years. So the football team went to state. This was also the last time that the basketball team made the state tournament for many years, until sometime in the early 2000s. So they had been on a run where in 88 and 89, our basketball team had lost the championship game both years, made it all the way, 1 year undefeated to the championship game. The other, I think we only lost one game.
When there was
but by the way, that second year, they never were behind in a single game
that before.
The entire season. They were never behind until the championship game, and they fell behind 15-1 early, and they lost, I think, by 15 points that game.
Yeah.
It was 12.
And that was back when there was only 2 classes, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But anyway, that was 88 and 89. But in 1990, they made one last run, and they played De La Salle, the team who beat them in 88 in our first trip to the state. And from what I remember, we had a big, big lead on them in the first quarter, into the first half maybe. And then all of a sudden, it just all fell apart, and we ended up, losing that game. And then so they went to the consolation bracket instead. But the day we lost to them, I had driven up for the game, of course, with I don't know, whoever took me up. But this was also the same time where maybe the greatest sporting event in my life was taking place. So outside of the Twins winning the World Series, which, is probably going to be number one twice, this is when the Gophers went to the Elite Eight. And my number one love is Gopher basketball. And so I went home that night, and the next night they played Syracuse in the Sweet 16, and they beat Derek Coleman. And our big 7-foot Bob Martin oaf, who didn't play much, got in his face and forced him to get a technical. It was the greatest game. And then they played Georgia Tech, and we missed a 3-pointer at the buzzer that would have sent us to the Final Four. And that is my favorite team in the history of sports. That team came off of a big scandal, and Clem Haskins had recruited all these guys, and they started the Big Ten. Their first freshman year, they won 2 games. The second year, they won 4 games. And then all of a sudden, they got good, and they nearly went to the Final Four. And I will never love a sporting event or team as much as that.
Awesome.
This was the last middle school dance. We've talked about those, so those were big.
Oh, yeah.
We had a middle school dance sometime in the spring there.
In the spring, yep.
And then when I moved to town, so I'm in the town for the summer, and I could just ride my bike anywhere, and I could adjust to this new life, and I could go ride the bike to Pete's house, and we could play baseball in the backyard, and we could play Nintendo all day, any day. We didn't have to have jobs yet. It was great. And then we started high school, which was very scary for me too. But we started high school at the end of the year. So it's a huge year, moving from one house to another, and then all these sporting memories, and so many great things happening.
You stole my thunder a little bit on those last couple of points, but one thing I didn't say much about is that this is one of the regrets that I have for moving to where we're at right now for my own children, is that they don't have the ability to do those same kinds of things that we were able to do, such as just get on your bike and just kind of go wherever you want. I mean, being in a more of a major metro area in the suburbs, you can't, there's just so many places that you can be. You can't just go hop on your bike and be found easily if you if you get lost or whatever. And the rule was just be home by the time the streetlights come on, or but yeah, we could go to my house. We spent a lot of time. We had that big, huge backyard. We played 2-on-2 baseball. You make up your own rules, Ghost Runners, and you make it work. You figure out how to make it work, and it's a lot of fun. We spent a lot of time playing golf. We've discussed on the show before, I think, for such a small town that we were, being in Tyler, it did have and still does have a really nice golf course that you could go play. I wasn't very good, but Brad, that's more in your wheelhouse. But we still had a lot of fun because you could get a membership for, I think for us as students, it was like you pay $50 or something like that.
I think high school was less than $100.
Yeah.
Oh, it was way less. It was $47.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even
I
pay
thought it
that.
was
My
around
parents would
50
pay
or
it.
$53. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like you pay that. That's less than one single round that you pay anywhere here.
Well,
Or
and what
the
they would
same in a
do
lot of
is
cases.
you would come in, you would pay for a round until you paid up for the membership, and then they just give you the membership thing for your bag, and then you were done. Like you didn't pay anymore.
Oh, I didn't do
So
that.
it'd take like 6 or maybe like 6 rounds of golf or something, and you were a member.
I don't
So you
know.
just paid as you went.
I never did it that way. I just remember going in and buying it, and then you're good for the year. So,
Well, I didn't have
we took
that
advantage
much money
of it.
to lay
We
down.
would go. Well, yeah,
Mhm.
and you just and you didn't back then. They didn't take tea times or anything, so you would just
Right.
go whenever you wanted to go. You didn't have to plan it. And if the weather was nice, it's a nice day. Not doing anything else, let's go. But one thing that I will say too that you didn't mention is that we played a ton of tennis.
Yes,
So
we did.
they have tennis courts in town. I don't know if I've maybe 5 times I've ever seen anybody else on those tennis courts. But we were there almost every night, and it's probably a safe bet to say that between the 4 or 5 of us, we spent more hours on that tennis court than anybody else in the history of Tyler. I don't know, because you don't ever see anybody on those courts.
He
And
ain't
we would
lying.
turn the lights on. We would turn those lights on, and we would play until midnight or 1 a.m. and just keep
Well,
playing. And we were
that
hot
I
and
don't think
sweaty,
is
and it
true.
was fun. So till midnight for sure, a lot of times.
You could turn the lights on though. It's fun to play under the lights. We would also play home run derby
Yeah.
in there with you'd put the tennis
Sure.
rackets and hit
Oh,
it out of the
perfect.
whole
Yeah, you'd have a
fence.
fence. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And so, but yeah, just for being a small town, you had to make up your own fun, but there were things to do. You had to sometimes invent stuff, because we played a lot of like big red bat ball in the backyard, just with a big red plastic bat, and play home run derby that way too. And so, it was a lot of fun. Gifford, you missed out by living in Russell, and you missed
Yep.
out on a lot of that.
I did. Living on the farm the whole time, until I got my license.
And
When
I
I
would
got
have
off the
too.
bus, after school, that's it, man. Like you're just at home until the bus picks you up the next day. The one thing that was nice, freshman year, my brother, of course, had his license, being a junior, and I could get a ride with him to school in the morning. So that was really quite handy. Of course, I had to ride the bus home because, like I said, I didn't go out for football. He was on the football team, so that kind of stunk riding the
Yes,
the
he
bus home
was.
after.
He was one of the guys I had to carry the Gatorade and water for.
That's right, number 52. So, yeah,
All right.
good year.
Man, it was a good time.
Yeah.
14 years old. It doesn't get better than that.
Well,
Sure, it got a lot better.
it got better, but yeah, that was a hell of a time though.
All right. We're going to draft some stuff now. So there was
Yeah.
a lot of great stuff in 1990. We watched a lot of TV. We loved music. We talked about this earlier too. This is the year I got my CD player, and we were cassettes, CDs everywhere you go. And we've already brought up the movies. So we're going to start with TV. And the order of the TV draft has been predetermined in a ceremony off screen, and it was me, then Gifford, and then Pete.
It was a ceremony. We actually had a
Yes.
crowning ceremony.
A lot of pomp and
And
circumstance.
with the first pick in the 1990 TV draft, I am going to take the biggest show of the time, Cheers, with Sam Malone. You can't beat Cheers.
That's a good pick. Who's second?
And this is a time too. I've been watching Cheers for a couple of
Gifford.
years at this time, and this is a time where I am watching every single week. Like this is not just some show I looked back on, like, oh yeah, that was a great show.
Mm-hmm.
This is it.
Well, more commonly, it was on. Cheers was on at about 10:30.
Well, yeah, and then we could watch it every
news,
night.
So you could watch it every
Mhm.
single in syndication.
And see
and
the
I
ones
was
you missed
watching
when you
it.
were
Watch a lot, yeah.
Yeah. And that's how I did watch Cheers, was syndication, because it was on either ABC or CBS. Well, I got the second pick here. I am going with my pick for this month. I am going with The Wonder Years.
Okay, that's a good pick.
Thank you.
The one that I'm going to pick is actually still on the air. But this was probably the peak of when we really started to fall in love with this show. And it was just fantastic. Always good for a laugh. I'm going with The Simpsons.
Sweet.
It's just crazy to me to think that that's still on the air, running new episodes.
Yeah. All right, we got Mr. Brad up next.
Okay, with my second pick in the draft, I am going to pick a show that I remember watching with my grandparents a lot, and I love The Golden Girls. And this would be a time when I probably was watching it quite often. When it first came out, I probably didn't watch it much. But in 1990, I think I would spend a lot of time at my grandma's house on Saturday nights when my parents were busy, and we watched The Golden Girls.
Excellent. All right, I am going to take a show that had my first celebrity crush on. I loved it then, and
Alyssa Milano.
Who's the Boss?
Angela.
All right. Oh, I thought you were talking about Mona. That was your celebrity crush, right?
Hey,
everybody loved Mona.
Takes all kinds, baby. And she was a wild, wild lady.
I'm going to go with another somewhat of a celebrity crush that includes Kelly Bundy, and I'm going to go with Married with Children.
Nice.
Again, this was probably the peak of this show. Yeah, it was in syndication, and the first few years, the jokes, after it went on, it had kind of run its course. But this is actually, Married with Children is the first I remember seeing Matt LeBlanc. He was on that show, and then there was a spin-off of Married with Children. It was him and his father. I think we've talked about that on the show.
Yep.
But anyway, it's a great show. I'd love to go back and watch. That's one that we should do for Pop Culture Yearbook.
All right, with my third pick, I'm going to take one that I'm surprised Pete hasn't taken yet. Later this month, we're going to talk about Newhart for Pete's choice. And so it was only on half the year because this is the year it ended. But I mean, my family, we watched it together, and we watched every week, every episode to the end. So it was a huge show. And then, of course, it has one of the greatest, most memorable finales of any show. So Newhart is my third pick.
Great pick. I am going to go with Growing Pains. I like the Seaver family. I was a big fan, so I'm going that route.
All right, that's a solid pick.
Thank you.
But early in its run, it was the first season, but it still qualifies. I'm going with Seinfeld.
Yes, I have it on there. First 4 episodes or so aired in 1990.
Pete as the number 3 picker here is, I don't know, man. This is pretty solid stuff he's putting out.
Yeah, it's like I'm the 3-hitter in baseball, driving in runs.
Yep.
All right, I am going to go next with a show that was starting at this time that was a really big deal, a rival to another show that was on at the time that had been on for 15 years. And that was SNL, and the show I'm picking is In Living Color. Once we got to town and got cable and got Fox and everything, I could watch In Living Color, and it was such a funny show.
Excellent.
Where Jim Carrey, where we all first heard of Jim Carrey.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you watched Once Bitten.
I'm going to go with the show that earned Barney Stinson all his money. Because he was a doctor at the time, and that is Doogie Howser, MD.
Okay. Well, a show that I always have to bring up whenever I can. I'm going with Night Court.
Okay. I almost picked that one. And then I thought you were going to pick another one right here that I wanted next, because it's come up a lot on this show. And my last pick for TV is going to be Northern Exposure, which started at this time. And that is a show I remember watching from the get-go.
Yep. Yeah, I've got it on my list here.
I'm a little surprised neither one of you took it as many times as we brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these other shows that I've already picked, I watched way more regularly. I mean, Northern Exposure is certainly a good show, but it's like,
Not
if it was
Seinfeld.
on,
You
it was
didn't
on.
watch Seinfeld in 1990.
Wow. You know what I mean, dumbass.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Yeah.
GIF?
All right. My last pick. I am going to go down to Mankato, Minnesota for the Screaming Eagles football team.
Good town, good city, good city.
I'm going to go with Coach.
All right. Some good choices here. I will go with Wings.
I always enjoyed Wings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just never got the love that I think it deserves. It did at the time, but it's like, why is it not in syndication?
Well, it was in syndication for a long time, but I
Right.
haven't seen it much for a while.
That's
here.
where I watched it. I can't believe you didn't pick SNL, Brad. Your pick for the month.
You know what? That's one of those where, and I even brought it up here, but I didn't even think about it because I was picking primetime shows this time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're right. I should have had
Okay.
SNL, but we will talk about that in 2 weeks, and we will cover
What else?
it.
What else
very
did you have
well.
in your list?
I had Dear John, one of the shows that aired on Thursday night that I liked.
Judd Hirsch, right? Judd
Yep.
Hirsch.
I liked Unsolved Mysteries. That was always one.
I
was
like that
creepy.
show too. It's on my list.
The Hogan Family, the latest incarnation of Valerie with Jason Bateman in it. A Different World, which is at this point probably better than The Cosby Show. I did write down Full House. I never liked it much, but I did watch it. America's Funniest Home Videos. That's one of those that was always on Sunday nights, like when we were eating and we would watch TV while we ate.
That was
My
on
Two
my
Dads
list.
was on. We've talked about My Two Dads. Another Fox show. It's Gary Shandling's show. That was one I tried to watch, thinking I would be like fairly mature and watch that one. 3 more. Alf. Alf ended right about this time. Head of the Class. That'd be one of Gifford's picks from his ABC.
Yeah, it's on my list.
And then I brought this up once before. This was not a good show, but this is the year that the show The Bradys came out, when they tried to reincarnate the Bradys. After the Very Brady Christmas movie, they tried to make a mostly dramatic series, and it lasted like 6 episodes and was a train wreck. But we watched it, and of course it was, this is like the height of when I'm really getting into the Brady Bunch. And so I was like, oh, great, there's a new show. We got to watch this.
Mhm.
What else says
Pete,
there?
Pete, did you have anything else?
Yeah. Do you guys remember a show called Parker Lewis Can't Lose?
Yes, I do.
I used to watch that, and I thought it was pretty good. And
It was kind of a Ferris Bueller type TV show.
I think they kind of ripped it off of Ferris Bueller, or it was inspired, maybe not ripped off. There was a Ferris Bueller show.
They did, yeah, and Jennifer Aniston was in it.
Jennifer Aniston, yes.
And that was a show that was terrible, but Parker Lewis actually had a little bit of a following for a while.
That's, by the way, that's 2 Friends characters that we've named so far. I also had MacGyver. I had
that was the next one on my list.
I had Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I had Roseanne, which could be, I was always kind of up and down on Roseanne. Sometimes it could be really funny. But
John Goodman, you're not going to go wrong with something with John Goodman in it, though.
Right. I may have another John Goodman reference later on in the show.
I look forward to it.
Arachnophobia?
Oh, shut up.
Hey, I'm making a guess. I thought that was a pretty good poll there.
That's a good guess.
Quantum Leap was a show I liked. And then Perfect Strangers.
There it is.
Still on, but I think this was later in its run.
Yeah.
Way late, but it was still on. It was on my list.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gifford, anything else?
I wanted to just add a couple more. Life Goes On was one that I was watching here. Mr. Belvedere was still on. Then The Flash with Dawson Leary's dad from Dawson's Creek. He was awesome. And then another show called Young Riders, kind of like a Young Guns type television show.
I think I remember that show
and Josh
existing.
Brolin. Yeah.
I might be making a Young Guns reference later in the show.
Yes, exactly.
Young Guns
So-
2? Shut up!
With one of the worst frickin' songs ever. I hate that Bon Jovi song from Young Guns 2, but
Really?
yeah.
Blaze
So,
of Glory?
God.
Oh,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a huge fan,
surprised.
but I can think of so many songs I hate more
Oh,
than
I
that. Wow.
hate that song.
I think it's a good song.
I don't even think it's okay. It's not my favorite, but it's okay.
Fine. It's a good song. I enjoy
Hey,
it.
everybody's entitled to their
That's
opinion. That's
true.
fine. I just don't care for it.
That's the great thing about America.
Yep. All right. So we are
Music.
moving. What's our next topic? Music.
Gifford is
And
hit first.
That's right. I'm picking first in music because I am such a guru of music. Well, at this time, you know,
You
more
are,
so.
yes. We're gonna have
Yeah.
a lot of good memories here.
Yep, absolutely. So I am gonna take a debut album here from the Black Crowes, "Shake Your Money Maker."
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm serious.
You're picking
Hard-
that?
Hard to handle. She talks to
Oh.
angels twice as hard. Jealous again. I mean, come on, man.
I was
That
certain I
was
would
a
get that with my
banger
pick.
of an album. So I got
Well,
Black
Gifford,
Crowes.
well done.
Thank you.
That is a great pick, and I thought I would get it. Pete, you're next.
All right. Well, I figured I would be stepping on Gifford's toes with this one, but it's honestly an album that I had. I loved it. Everybody loved it. It's outside of the genre that we
Not
normally
just
pick on
Gifford.
this
I
show.
think you're going for me.
I'm
Me
going-
and Gifford love this equally.
No Fences,
Oh no.
Garth Brooks.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, what are you going? Yeah, No Fences was gonna be my number 2 pick. I thought I could let it slide. I popped it in a couple nights ago and just listened to it. It is so good. You know, Friends in Low Places, Thunder Rolls, Unanswered Prayers, Two of a Kind, Working on a Full House. It's just there's so many great
It
songs.
is. I actually think that Rope in the Wind might be a better top to bottom, a better album. I don't know,
The
but
next album. Yep.
yeah,
That
that's
was
the
a good one too.
That was the first CD I ever got in my life because I got a CD player for Christmas along with the CD. And my parents mistakenly gave me a CD first. And I'm like, what am I going to play this on? And they're like, oh, whoops, you're supposed to open this one.
After that big one over there.
Thanks, Mom. What the hell am I supposed to do with this? All right. Well, I'm gonna go way off the board here. You guys pick some that are be pretty much critically acclaimed and beloved by most people in some way. I'm gonna pick the one I kind of thought Pete was talking about at first, but it wasn't even close.
Oh.
This is the album that probably I loved more than any at the beginning of 1990, and me and Gifford both did, and that is CNC Music Factory. Gonna make you sweat.
That was
Things that
Attaboy.
make you go hmm.
that's one I
Mhm.
didn't think that was going to go as early as it.
I
Well,
didn't
it
think
was-
it would either.
I fully expected to take the Black Crowes, but I'm pivoting.
Yeah.
So if I'm
Okay.
going to pick what I was listening to that year the most, that's got to be up there. And it was one of the first CDs that I ever owned.
Mhm.
It wasn't the first, but it was one of the first 510 I had.
Excellent.
Okay, GIF.
All right. I'm going to take AC/DC's offering this year, The Razor's Edge, with Thunderstruck, Money Talks. You know, good
That's
stuff.
I was going to take that next, actually.
I had I was
love
going to
that
write down
pick.
Thunderstruck because I hated that song back then.
Really?
But like,
love it now.
I love it now. Like I
Yeah.
think that song kicks ass, and I wouldn't like the whole album, but I was gonna like that song was an option for me.
Yeah. We had that album. I don't remember if I had it or my brother had it, but we listened to it. I'm guessing Brandon had it. And I don't know where I came across this, but I read it online that Thunderstruck is one of the most expensive songs to get the royalties to for a movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Because it's
I could see that.
It wants to be used that much. So
All right, Pete, you going more country?
No, I'm going completely opposite with this one. Just because this, of course, this one song was just the biggest song of the year, probably, and it was a huge craze,
MC
along with
Hammer.
a couple of other songs on it. I'm going with MC Hammer. Please,
Yep.
Hammer, don't hurt him.
Please,
Nice.
Hammer, don't hurt him.
great
Please,
pick.
Hammer. Remember that SNL skit?
Yes,
with
yes.
Phil Hartman.
Great,
Oh,
great
God.
pick.
Please, Hammer.
And that's one that I remember. I swear to God, I had that one on a cassette. It's so weird.
I think I did too.
And I wonder why. It must have come out early in the year, I guess, and I had the cassette first before I got CDs. I don't know, but it was right at that transition time there between cassettes and CDs.
February 12th, to be exact, 1990.
Yep. There you go. Okay, well, I will go with now one of my favorite bands of all time. This is a CD that I also loved and listened to all the time. And it had Suicide Blonde on it.
Yes.
And that is INXS X.
Yes.
And I remember specifically Gifford in 1990. You came with my family, and we drove up here because RTR played De La Salle in a regular season game at De La Salle. And I remember listening to our portable CD players in the back of the car, and I was listening to this on the way home. Like, I can vividly picture that. It's such a weird memory, but that was it. And you were there, Rob. You were there.
Oh man, now this is getting difficult. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys something to believe in. I'm gonna take "Flesh and Blood" by Poison, with "Unskinny Bop" and of course "Something to Believe in." You don't like "Unskinny Bop"?
That could be my most hated song in the history of the world.
Oh,
wow.
Love it, love it, love it.
I mean, seriously.
Yep. I rocked out to it just the other night, putting this list together.
And, the other one that I would put as its sister song would be Cherry Pie. And
I have that on my list.
Those are both
I bet you
songs.
do.
We should
I own that CD. Or I probably still do, I suppose.
Okay, Pete.
It's my pick now, right? One that I didn't listen to as much in 1990, but I listened to it time after time. No, it's not that. Not time after time, but it's. I listened to it a lot in college, and it probably meant as much to me as any album of all time. Maybe not as well known nationally, but certainly locally. I'm going with Billy's Live Bait by the Gear Daddies.
Cool.
Yep.
Nice. Yep, that is a great one, Pete.
We all love the Gear Daddies.
Stupid Boy, Wear Your Crown, Color of Her Eyes, and the hidden track of the Zamboni song.
If you are listening to the show and have never heard of the Gear Daddies, we implore you to look them up. Yes. They had, kind of 3 albums, but the third one was kind of a mixture of stuff. Two albums that were pure awesome in the late 80s, early 90s.
And I agree with Pete. Like, Brad introduced us to the Gear Daddies, and I didn't get into them in high school, but I got into them pretty heavily in freshman year of college.
Okay, well, I'm sticking with my theme here. I'm picking ones where I owned the CD, and so I know how important they were to me. And I'm telling you right now, 911 is a joke. Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet.
Are you kidding me? I was going to take that next.
Oh, Pete.
Oh, my God.
Dang.
911 is joke in your town. Get up, get down.
All right, I am breaking away from the albums, and I'm going to cut into just song here. I don't know if it is my anthem, but it's one of my anthems. And in January 20th of 1990, Digital Underground came out with the Humpty Dance.
That is Gifford's anthem. Not one of them. It is the one.
All right. Is it my pick now? You can't.
Yes, it is.
I was going to take Public Enemy, but again, I'm doing a complete 180 from that. I'm going to go a little Dwight Yoakam.
Oh, if there was a way. Yep, that was one that I had coming here.
Yeah, in particular, Turn It On, Turn It Up, Turn Me Loose.
Turn Me Loose.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to pivot here to a song, even though I'm always the album person, but I want to get this song because it was the song of 1990 to me and to most people. And I'm afraid one of you might pick it. So Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor.
I had it on my
that's
list.
One of the most
what I was going to say.
perfectly beautiful recorded songs in the history of music, and written by our very own Prince, of course.
Prince. Yep. I gotta say, I was sick of it when it came out because it was played and played and played. Came out January 8th of 1990.
Well, so
just
there you
made
go.
it
It was
inside
the whole
line.
year of 1990.
Yeah, the album.
Mhm.
So I saw that, but I was like, are they going to yell at me for taking one that the album came out in the wrong year or what?
If you would have taken the
It's
album, I would have. But
album.
if you take just the song was released in 1990.
But the criteria on the note sheet says albums, and so I picked all albums.
Oh, I pick
So,
whatever I feel like.
I just send albums. We always pick songs. You can pick whatever you want.
I
All
thought
right.
the rules had changed for the new season.
No. So I'm gonna stick with just a song for my final pick. Absolutely love it. Came out October of 1990, and that is Freedom 90.
Oh, that's on my
from
list.
George Michael.
That exact song is on my list here. Song and video. Absolute.
Oh, the video is unbelievable. I love the jukebox exploding.
It's
just
great.
Absolutely.
I want to go watch it and listen to it right
awesome.
now.
So good.
So I'm going to make a pivot here because I was thinking just albums, but now that I know that it's songs, I'm going to narrow it down to one song because it is the one song of the entire year. Ice Ice Baby.
Attaboy.
I had To the Extreme.
Well, and I think Ice Ice Baby did come out in 90. I put down the whole album because I actually owned it. I did own that
but
one.
I picked the album. That's what I had, is that To the Extreme came out in 1990 along with Ice Ice Baby. So I think it qualifies for my pick. You guys don't have to be all like, "Ugh."
Well, so Pete has 2 countries. He's got Hammer and Vanilla Ice, and then the Gear Daddies. That is quite the list there.
If I don't win, I'm going for a broad audience. I'd better win the freaking poll this year. Better not.
You're going for the female vote, the broad audience.
Yeah. Ew.
This is going to be so hard. I have so many choices that I want to pick, but what I'm going to do now is go back to my criteria, which is usually albums, and I'm picking CDs that I owned that came out in 1990, and I'm going to go with the super group Damn Yankees. Can You Take Me High Enough?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I listened to that album so many times. Coming of Age, that song is such a banger. I loved it.
Yeah.
I got so many more here.
Yeah, I do too.
Right.
Do you just want to keep rolling?
I got a couple.
Okay.
I got a couple.
So my one of my favorite albums actually is one that I got into later, but the Sundays, I've mentioned them before.
I saw that. I
and,
knew you were going to take that.
and Wild Horses was on it, which was our wedding dance song for me and my wife. But I'm a huge Sundays fan. We might actually do one of their albums later on in the 90s. So that's on my list. I almost picked this song. Actually, I got 2 songs on here that I've just all-time classics. Fly to the Angels by Slaughter. I mean, I can't listen to that song enough. It's so damn good. The Best of Van Morrison came out in 1990, and that's a CD that I listened to through college over and over and over again when I started to realize who Van Morrison was. A tape. So this is another one that came out early in the year, apparently. The Pretty Woman soundtrack.
Yep.
I had on cassette, and I'll tell you what, that had so many songs on it that were so good. And Roxette. Social Distortion came out that year with some of their best songs, Ball and Chain. The other song that I have on here that is just another classic all-time banger is Steelheart, I'll Never Let You Go, with one of the greatest voices you've ever heard. Also, Joey by Concrete Blonde. I did own the album World Click by D-Light because I loved D-Light so much, but the album overall I did not like.
Groove is in your heart.
Groove is in the heart. I mean, I probably should have put that on my list first.
I had that on my list. Yep.
And everything else has been said except this is also the year Madonna's Immaculate Collection came out, which I owned on CD, and that was a way to listen to all of Madonna's songs at once.
All right. Sweet. Should I go next?
Go ahead.
I had a couple here. I had Mama Said Knock You Out by LL Cool J.
Oh, is that old?
Yeah.
It was on the list. I had Blaze of Glory, Gifford. Want to go?
Boo!
I had Goo by Sonic Youth, and Here in the Real World by Alan Jackson.
Alan Jackson, yeah.
Excellent. My next pick would have been Extreme 2 Porno Graffiti with Wholehearted and More Than Words on that album.
But I think that's one I looked up. So the album, yeah, but I think I looked up More Than Words actually was released in 91, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it was in 91.
It would work.
I'm aware of that.
The album and the song came out.
The song that I was going to pick was that, and then I realized it was from 91.
Well, and I went ahead and did the album because, Wholehearted I liked as well. So.
That's a great song.
Yeah. I picked Poison, Flesh and Blood, but also Poison from Belle Biv DeVoe came out this year.
That's better.
That was their debut album with Poison, Do Me, and BBD on it. Couple songs we had. Oh, another album, Mariah Carey's debut came out that year. Feels Good by Tony was released in June. If you're a fan of Bridesmaids, then you're a fan of Hold On by Wilson Phillips.
Yes. Did you ever see the SNL skit with Tim Meadows where it was Tony? And he was the fourth Tony, and I think it was a question mark after his name. And
well, right, yeah, it'd have to be, right? And another one I got in here is After the Rain was Nelson's debut album.
Oh my God!
With also the title track of After the Rain, and then Love and Affection was an absolute banger. And I just want to double check. I think that's everything I think I had on my list.
Okay, movies.
All right,
a lot of good movies in 1990.
There sure were, Brad.
Pete, what's the best one to you?
The best one to me, with a bullet, is Goodfellas.
Yep.
Hard to argue.
If you're picking the best one, that's definitely my choice as well.
Yep.
But since you picked it, I can't. I'm going to go with maybe the movie that I watched the most times in 1990, and we'd watch it after basketball games, and the quotes from this movie are just insane. Kid and Play, House Party.
All right. If you didn't pick it, I was going to.
With the recent commercial. They've got the recent TV commercial.
Mm-hmm.
God damn, that movie's good.
Yeah. Whose is this?
Yeah, let's not say that one.
Right. I'm going to go out with a little movie that came out, The Hunt for Red October.
Oh, damn. I was going to take that one next.
No, you weren't.
Aiken used to walk around singing the Russian national anthem from when they're singing it in the submarine. Yes. He memorized it. I don't even think he had it close to right at all, but he would sing it all the time, and it was stuck in my head.
All right, Pete, what do you got for your second pick?
God, this is a tough one now. I'm going to go, just because it is so well known. We've talked about it somewhat recently, as we do every year. I'm going with Home Alone.
Home Alone.
And we had a whole party about it. So
Pete has the two Joe Pesci movies. It's a pretty dominating list to start there.
Yep.
That's right.
What is he, a clown? Is he a clown to you?
All right, I'm going to go with one of the biggest movies of the year. I owned the soundtrack. I just said I also went on a date to this movie with the aforementioned Jessica Gifford.
Nice.
My sister went, and they weren't really on a date, but her and a friend that was a guy took us to see Pretty Woman in the summer. And that was a fun night, and that is a great movie.
Excellent. Well, I love a movie where love blooms off screen. I'm going to go with Days of Thunder, where I believe this was the first movie with...
You're a sucker for a movie where love blooms off screen?
I am. I'm a sucker. So that's where Cruise and Kidman got together, I believe.
I think you are right. The next one I'm going with is a very spine-chilling movie. I'm going with Misery.
See, that could have been my next pick.
Very good pick.
It's such
This
a
is
good movie. It gives you the heebie-jeebies, but it's a good movie.
This is a very competitive draft here for this one.
Oh, don't worry. I'll mess it up here towards the end. I got
And then
All
you're
right,
gonna
I'm
win.
gonna. So my first 5 are off the board. I'm gonna go with my number 6, which I've mentioned before. You know, I didn't watch a lot of the action movies in the '80s. I really didn't get into the genre until Die Hard. But combining action and sci-fi, Total Recall was just a movie that I absolutely loved. And then you also got a young and so hot Sharon Stone in that movie. She might have looked better in that movie than she did in Basic Instinct.
Yeah, that's hard to argue with. Okay. Boy, this is getting difficult now. You know, I'm going to go with one that I watched a lot of. Again, this was getting the VHS tapes from my uncle where he recorded stuff off HBO. I hate the song, but I really did love the movie, and I watched it a lot. That would be Young Guns 2.
All right. You've made your point about the song.
He is not a sucker for that song.
No, I'm not.
I think I'm going to snipe Brad on this next pick. I think Brad has this on his list as a bit of a sleeper pick, but I'm going to take it right now. Quick Change.
Yep, that was probably going to be my next pick. That is the most underrated Bill Murray, underappreciated movie of Bill Murray.
Never seen it.
Yeah, I know. We've told you many times.
A lot of people haven't. I think it's not well known.
And it is fantastic. All right, well, then I'm going to go with the last movie that I have in bold here, which you picked Goodfellas, Pete. I'm going to pick the other Robert De Niro classic of this year, which is nothing like Goodfellas, Awakenings.
I don't think
And
I've seen
movie-
that one either. There were so many
You've never seen
movies
Awakenings?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
that were on the list that I'm like, I heard of it, I know it, but I've never watched it.
It's been so long since I've watched it, but I mean, that's Robin Williams too, right?
I thought that was Robin Williams. I don't know. I haven't seen
Yeah,
it, but
because he's like the doctor, and
I think that's
Robert
right,
De Niro. Yeah, Robert De Niro and Robin Williams. I almost forgot that Robin Williams was the other man. Gifford, you got to watch that one.
All right then. Well, my fourth pick, I'm going to go with a franchise that I absolutely love. Danny Glover was the star in this one, and that is Predator 2. Not as good as the first one, but still a lot of fun.
Right. One movie that I remember watching a number of times, I watched it 4 or 5 times back when it was available to watch, and it was really good. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but do you remember Memphis Belle?
Oh yeah,
I have seen that.
Matthew Modine.
That's a good movie.
Yep.
I don't think I ever watched it, but that's one of those movies that we had at the corner store that, like, you know,
Pretty
I
good.
saw.
You should watch it. I haven't seen it in 30 years, so maybe it would be good to watch that one again.
Wow. So I only have one.
Or
pick
maybe I'll
left,
watch
and-
it and be disappointed. Who knows? But I remember it being really good.
All right. Well,
Last
I am
pick,
going
Brad?
to take. I'm going to take another one that I haven't seen in 30 years. But this, I'm going to take this because you guys, you know, my history with Harrison Ford is so unique. And so one of the movies that I saw of him before a lot of his others was Presumed Innocent,
Yeah,
which was a great courtroom drama.
I saw that one on there. I'm like, I wonder if Brett's going to pick this.
And I did it just for you. I could have picked 10 others, but I picked that one just for you guys.
Right.
At a Harrison Ford marathon night, I watched Witness, I watched
Presumed Innocent,
Working Girl.
Yeah, Working Girl for sure. Yeah.
Oh,
And
man.
The Fugitive. That would be on there for sure.
So none of us are going to take the big Oscar winner from that
No,
year.
I thought about it, but you know, it's.
I think I've only ever seen it twice.
We actually watched
you know.
it a couple of years ago, and it is pretty good. But it's
So
not
no Dances with Wolves. I'm going to go with one that's a little more on brand for me. The Adventures of Ford Fairlane.
Oh, good lord! Wow.
Andrew Dice Clay It had just some great lines in that I didn't understand while I was watching it.
I did not see that one coming.
For example, there was two guys that walked up to me, said, "Is your names Neil and Bob, or is that what you do?" And I just didn't quite understand that when it first came out, and then I had to think
hilarious.
That's some good stuff. Couple others I had on my list. Another 48 Hours. I watched Die Hard 2 a ton.
Yeah, I was thinking you'd take that because you talked about that one a lot.
It's not as, I think I watched it too many times. I kind of got wore out on it. Ghost came out this year.
Oh, yeah, Ghost.
Yep.
Men at Work, another great one. Navy SEALs.
Oh, you took my line. That was what I was going to say.
It came out this year. And I have not.
Navy SEALs.
I have not seen this movie, but going through the list, it caught my attention, and I had to research it a little bit. Frankenhooker came out this year, and it is like a slapstick comedy, just bonkers movie. And I got to figure out where I can find it because it looks absolutely ridiculous. But I just wanted to bring it up here. So, what else did you have, Pete?
I had Kindergarten Cop.
Okay. Can we go back to Navy SEAls?
Okay.
Sure.
Sure. What do you have to say about it?
Well, no, we lost connection again.
Oh, okay.
We were going fine. We don't need to cut it out.
We'll just cut you out with the can we go back to Navy SEAls?
I was saying I had Kindergarten Cop.
Yep.
I had Back to the Future Part 3. Here's where I had Arachnophobia, which I could have picked, and I did enjoy it, but I don't think it's that great of a quality movie, but it's a fun movie to watch. And I had Flatliners. You remember that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And that's all I had.
Okay, well, I don't know what you guys have said.
It's okay.
The unknown Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks movie came out this year, Joe versus the Volcano.
Yep.
Pete, if I say this, will you know what I'm saying? What I'm referring to? Monopoly.
Yeah, that's that's the Kevin Kline one. I
love
can't
you.
Think of the name of them.
To death.
I Love You to Death. That's right.
Yeah,
that
was a really good movie. Yes, it is. Very funny movie. A very underappreciated movie. I'm sure you said Back to the Future Part 3. Anybody say My Blue Heaven?
No, that's one of Courtney's favorite movies.
One of my favorite Steve Martin movies. Seemed like it'd be a lot better than it was, but it's still Steve Martin and Rick Moranis. Another movie I watched at Jessica's house, I think a different time when you weren't there, Gifford. We watched the movie Pacific Heights with it was Michael Keaton, who was like a crazy bad guy, and Matthew Modine and I'm drawing up, what's her name from Working Girl? Melanie Griffith. They were like a couple in a new house, and there was this whole thing. It's kind of this weird horror movie, and Michael Keaton in a different role.
Mm-hmm.
Edward Scissorhands come up.
No, it did not.
No,
that was a whole
Kindergarten Cop. It's not a tumor.
Yeah, that one came up.
Okay, That's it then.
Sweet.
All right.
A lot of great stuff. Great job on the list, fellas. Brad, of course, will be putting these out for people to vote on Twitter and Instagram. And again, the names will not be attached to the list, so you can't vote for your favorite guy. You got to vote for the best list.
Maybe what I should do this year is put the wrong name with the list.
No, I like just not having the name.
I'm not going to do that. That was a joke.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Good joke.
Yeah.
Good joke, eh?
That's a good joke too, huh?
You know what band I would love to hear play Blaze of Glory?
Preacher Row.
Yeah, what would you think of it then?
I'd probably soften on it a little bit. I'd probably come around a little more, for sure.
All right. That sounds good. Well, how about standing on my own 2 feet? How's that?
Let's do that. That sounds like
all right, here it is.
Okay. What are we going to talk about next week?
What would you do if I sang out of tune? We're going to talk about some Wonder Years next week.
Wonder Years. We're back, guys. Hope you're listening, and bring in some new people with us this year. It's going to be a fun ride.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Always is. Later, dudes.
Bye.
Bye.
No one's here to comfort me. Sorry for what I have done. Sorry that your son is gone. 7 steps and it will be my last. Hands tied, tell me on my back. I turn and I look to you. I'm scared, but there's nothing I can do.